Konnichiwa, and welcome back to another IBRACORP video. Thank you guys for coming in and checking out today's video. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here as usual. Today we've got an exciting one for you. We're going to be showing you Authentik, something that's been requested quite a bit by our members, and today we're going to hopefully deliver that for you. Long-time members of IBRACORP will know that we love Authelia. We've done so many videos of it. We were the first to get a video out on it, giving you a guide on how it works and how to set it up. And that was on Unraid. We've also given you Docker Compose. So we've exhausted that pretty well up until this point. Now, Authentik came up quite a while back and we did look into it, but at the time it was still very early in development and we just didn't have the time project-wise to take a look. Thankfully though, one of our members has actually put the container up on the community app store. So thank you Sternbear for getting the containers up there for everyone to use. That makes it a lot easier for us to cover, of course, because we don't have to also get the container template up there as well. Now today I'm going to be showing you this on Unraid. So we're going to be showing some love to our Unraid fans, and we're going to be showing you how to get it installed, get it running, sign in, and then get started on your own. So we'll show you that initial part. Usually it's very complicated. If you don't know how to do it the first time, it can be very confusing, but we're going to do all that for you. So all you get to see is the working magic. So Authentik is an open source identity provider focused on flexibility and versatility. If this sounds like something you're interested in and you want to set it up for your server and protect your infrastructure, then without further ado, let's get stuck into it. Thanks for coming in, guys. Like I said, it's going to be an exciting video today. If you're interested in supporting the channel, please remember you can like and subscribe at the bare minimum. You can also donate to us or subscribe to our website as a member. All of our contributions are going back to developers, back to the community, and helping us increase the content quality that we can put out for you. So like I said, we're going to be looking at Authentik. Let's scroll through the main website here and we can see, first of all, I will note that they have very decent documentation. This video today, we don't have our own documentation for it. We might spin one up just showing you the install process, and we'd be happy to do that. But in terms of the full-length documentation on what Authentik can offer you and how to use it, we really recommend you check out their official docs there. Again, you can also support the project, go over to GitHub and join their Discord as well if you like too. So going through the website, we can see a couple of notes. It's easy to use. It's made easy. Authentik makes single sign-on, user enrollment, and access control simple. Now, if you know from our previous videos, when we did LDAP, which is quite a common backend for user authentication, that we also had PWM running and a bunch of other things to give us sort of portals and workflows and things like that. So we had to mishmash a few things. Now, Authentik can offer that built into one package, and once you get your head around it, it makes a lot of sense. That allows you to have that workflow, like we just said. It's powered by Python. And if they summarize that, what is Authentik is an open source identity provider focused on flexibility and versatility. You can use it in an existing environment to add support for new protocols, implement sign-up, recovery, etc. in your application so you don't have to deal with it, and many other things. And so if you're a developer, this is where this can really come in handy and allow you to integrate this to applications that you're building as well. So as you can see, do you need an Active Directory SSO provider? Do you want to implement custom enrollment? Well, yeah. Are you developing an application and want to deal with user verification and recovery? No. Authentik can do all of that and more. So that's what they say here. And of course, it's got a dark theme, which is a big plus here on the IBRACORP channel, as you know. Also on the website, they have a nice breakdown of why choose Authentik. Now, we love Authelia and we still highly recommend it. But as you can see, Authelia is one part of what Authentik does. So yes, necessarily it can tick a lot of these boxes, as you can see down here, but the purpose of Authentik covers a lot more. And looking at this graph, it's pretty impressive when you think about it. So that's pretty much the intro to Authentik. I know it doesn't sound like much at the moment, but once we get it spinning, we can have a quick look around before we end the video. So we'll show you how to do that now. And feel free to join along. If you're using Docker Compose, guys, it's even easier. They have the Docker Compose here on the docs page. So if we go to installation Docker Compose, you've got the Compose file all here ready to go. You just build it. For everyone else, you also have Kubernetes. We have beta versions if you want them, how to set them up with the reverse proxies. So from here, I'm going to show you a couple of things. First of all, npm is a extra here. This was just for my own testing, so you don't need to have npm running for this unless you're ready to reverse proxy it. The other two things that we need as prerequisite is Postgres and Redis. Depending where you are in the world, they also like to call it Redis, so I don't know. Whatever you want to call it, drop it in the comments below. Maybe we'll say it right one day. So here we go. We've got Postgres first, so make sure you've got Postgres running. If you don't, easy enough, go over to the App Store and grab one. And now the container we're using here today is by Flight 777 and Unraid template that just works. He's not wrong. Thank you very much for that, mate. You have done a great job. The container launches perfectly fine and real easy. So for the purpose of today's video, the placeholders I've used for usernames and passwords are highly insecure. Putting a disclaimer here right now. Anywhere we use a password, make sure you're using a very secure password and different passwords for different things. First things first, Postgres password, we've just put Postgres. Again, Postgres down here. The Postgres database name, I've changed it to Authentic. The storage path, so that's going to our cache, app data, DSM, RDB, data. Doesn't matter, that's where the default is. If you want to change that, go ahead and change it. The web interface port is 5432. Also, the default, have not changed that. Our custom Docker network, we're making sure we're on our custom Docker network. If you don't know how to do that, we've done a video. Update container name. Now, by default, it wasn't called Postgres. I have a habit of changing the names to something very simple and lowercase. That's personal preference, and that's going to be really important when we're using host names to connect containers to each other. Just makes it a lot easier to manage that way. Now, if you wanted multiple Postgres containers, then I would recommend maybe you put Postgres _ authentic, and you know that that particular container is just for authentic. However you want to do it. Alternatively, you can have multiple databases inside the Postgres server. So we're going to leave it as this. This is our Postgres server. We start it up, and sure enough, it runs perfectly fine. Don't have to do anything special with it after that. The next thing we install is Redis. Now, if you're already using Authelia, you're probably using Redis as well. I'll show you the Redis template as well. So as usual, I usually use the Bitnami Redis container. On the App Store, the default port 6379. Allow empty password is set to no, and then we've set a Redis password. In our case, it's Redis. Don't use it. The app data is the default Redis Bitnami. That's fine. I'm happy with that. Click apply, and that will just fire up and will be running for you. Now, with those two things done, you're left with essentially Authentic to do now. We have those two things in place. Now, in my scenario doing this, I started with the worker and then I installed Authentic. I don't know whether there's a particular order because we have not tested it the other way around, but since I know that it works, I'm going to show you that method. So first of all, go to the App Store. You'll see Authentic here. If not, search for it. Currently, it's up by Stern Bear's repository, so thank you for that. You can also click Show More since it's so recent. You'll also see our CrowdSec containers here and here. We have the documentation written up for you on our website on docs.ibracorp.io for Unraid. We haven't done a video on it, but that will be coming very soon. So first of all, start with the worker. Go ahead and install that. And this is what our template looks like now that we've completed it. We have the name of the container, Authentic-Worker. We have a version tag appended to the end here. So keep in mind that if you want to change that version later, you'll have to set a different tag. Now, this is recommended for a few reasons, guys. I personally always use auto updates. I'd take that risk, but there are benefits to using a tagged release. And the benefit is you never know what the new version might bring and what it might break. So it's better off to set a particular version that you know works and you're happy with until you're ready to upgrade it yourself. So here we start setting up our Redis and our PostgreSQL information. So the first one is our host. Now the container name, because we're on the same custom Docker network, as you can see here, we can use our container names to refer to them instead of using an IP address and port. So the container name for me is Redis, and the container name for this is Postgres, as I explained. The database user that we configured is Postgres, the DB name Authentic, and the DB password Postgres. Error reporting is set to true, and then it wants us to create a secret key. Now in their docs, there is a particular command you can run to get the key. Personally, all I did was go to passwordsgenerator.net as it's linked here. On here, we go to 32, really strong. I just like to remove symbols. Sometimes that can cause issues. And now we've got this long encryption key we can use. So basically just copy that and go back. So sure enough, we paste that here. I know this one works already. I've used it, so we'll leave that one as is. Now, To be honest, with these paths, I haven't looked into how important it is where we put them at this stage, and that's something that we can review later. But for now, I've put it under the app data location for Authentik. So we set up a backups one, we just created that, media and certs, and then we've also linked to our Docker socket. Okay, pretty much the same path that it's got. Custom templates, again, the same as above. I created a template section for that just to map it. And then it asked for our Redis password, which in our case was Redis. And with all that set, you go ahead and click apply. And now once you apply it, you'll see that there's quite a bit of logs happening in the initial startup from here. You can see that it starts to try to connect to our database, and once it eventually connects, it just works. So it starts building up a bunch of stuff for us. And so you might be wondering, what is the Authentik-Worker? So the worker executes background tasks, everything that you can see on the system's tasks page in the front end. So basically it does all the churning of information. And once you have that running, we can then install Authentik. So go back to the App Store again, and we want the actual Authentik container here now, and we want to install that. And here we are on the Authentik template, and we follow through the same thing. So with our network type, we've got the custom Docker network again. We have that tag release, remember, that's here as well. Ask for the ports that we want to run it on. So 9000 and 9443 are the default in this template. Set it to whatever you prefer. Our Redis host is Redis, again for Postgres as well. Then our Postgres user, DB name, and password. Very similar to the other container. If you come down a little lower, we have our error reporting, and then we have MaxMind. Now, if you used MaxMind before, you'll know what it is. It basically gives you access to geo information based on IP addresses. So you can see where hits are coming from and where they're going to. It gives you a location. Now you have to sign up for that. You can get the free license, etc. You sign in, you get the license key, you paste that key here, your account ID here, and you can also download the database so that it doesn't have to load it. So you download the GeoLite database and you put it into this location. Now, where's this location? It's the one right here. So as you can see on our host, we've mapped that to Authentik/GeoIP. Inside the container, it just sees it as GeoIP. So then in the container, we're saying GeoIP, GeoLite 2, MMDB. Then we have that key again. Now make sure this is the same key that you have in your worker and vice versa. Put the same key in both containers. Then our Redis password as usual, the templates location, Docker socket, and the media folder. Once you do that, go ahead and click apply. Now something you may come across is that it actually doesn't end up loading, and it might just start and then eventually crash on you. It's not actually crashing, I don't believe. I think it's trying to migrate stuff to the database. Once the container stops, all I had to do was start it again, and then it immediately just connected fine after that. So it's been up since then. So now we have both containers running. We should be able to get to the initial logon page. So Sternberg's written it out for us in the container description. It's basically this path, and then we add your server IP in here. Obviously the port is 9000. Unless you've changed that, then change it to whatever you're running it on in order to be able to access it. But this path on the end here is important. So make sure you take that whole path. And voila, we put that path in and it takes us to the sign in page. So on the sign in page, it will allow us to set up our admin user, also called the AK admin. So set it up with all the information you want. There's my user, I've put the email and password, we click continue. And congratulations, you've signed into Authentik. We now have an Authentik server running for us and it's working fine. So maybe the next thing you want to do is head to the admin interface. And as soon as you get in there, you're greeted with the admin panel, and you can see a whole bunch of information across the top, as well as our system status, version, and the workers that we have running. It also gives you a log of previous logins in the last 24 hours. Under users, we can create users, we can see any failed logins, any sort of issues like that. We can monitor what's happening, all the system tasks and when they're expected to run. And then you get under applications. So guys, I hope you enjoy that. That's the installation and initial login of Authentik. We hope it answers a couple of questions on at least getting you up and running. At that point, you can follow the documentation that they offer to try and understand a bit more about how it works. We'll cover it again in future. If you're interested, be sure to let us know in the comments. And we hope we can work with the Authentik dev again to try and get this up and running for you. We hope you have a fantastic Easter break. Please stay safe out there, and don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps the channel. We really want to grow and find more people like yourself who are interested in what we have to say. Thank you very much, and we'll see you in the next IBRACORP video.